One of the potential players in that next round of voting joins us now, Michele Bachmann, Republican representative from Minnesota, who I'm glad to say is here in New York. Good to see you in person.
Thank you. It's fun to be here. Thanks,
David. One of the things that's getting a lot of press today is your comment about gangster government, referring to the Obama administration, and you wouldn't retract that phrase in referring to the Obama administration. Why not?
Well, because I'm appalled by the latest revelation that's just come out. We all know how highly controversial the government takeover of health care was with the passage of ObamaCare. Now we just find out in a February report issued by the Congressional Research Service that hidden in the health care bill was $105 billion, $464 million that was hidden secretly, broken up and scattered throughout the 2,900 pages of the bill. Only the senators were never told. The House members were never told. This bill passed.
Well, they didn't have time to read the bill, right?
Right, exactly, because
you had to vote for it before you read it.
That's what Speaker Pelosi said. You have to pass the bill to know what's in it.
But gangster, the word gangster, I mean, that usually you think of Gaddafi, you think of Hugo Chavez.
You think of corruption.
Yeah, but you put Chavez and Gaddafi in the same category as Obama?
Of course not. Absolutely not. But, David, this is unparalleled. This is historic and unprecedented. Never before in a bill of this size has over $105 billion, and that's the minimum that will be spent to implement Obamacare. It's one thing if we would have had this debate. There was no debate. This is a moral outrage that somehow Obama, Pelosi, and Reid thought they could get away with.
Was it illegal in any way?
I think it was. It certainly broke the House rules.
How illegal? How was it illegal?
Number one, it's morally incomprehensible because in our form of government, we rule by the consent of the governed. Yes. If you leave out a material term, think in a private contract. These are false pretenses that you're creating a contract based on. And if you leave out a material fact like, oh, let's say $105 billion worth of funding, and you don't tell anyone, look at all of your Fox clips.
Where was it, by the way?
There is no mention ever that there's $105 billion in this bill.
And where is it? You say it's scattered throughout the bill.
It's scattered throughout the bill. It's little bits and pieces scattered across the 2,900 pages. No one knew until the Congressional Research Service came up with a report in October, but it was 2 weeks before the election. No one read the report. They issued a second report in February of 2011, and they itemized the $105 billion, $664 million, plus one section of the bill, Section 1311A, gives Kathleen Sebelius, Health and Human Services Secretary, an unlimited tap into the U.S. Treasury to go ahead and give money to the states to implement the private health exchange. So the minimum that we will spend is $105 billion.
Does the money issue with Obamacare worry you more than the fact that we are giving a lot of extra powers to the executive branch? You mentioned the head of HHS. Sebelius, whoever heads that agency, will have enormous powers that they don't now have.
She will be one of the most powerful people in the United States under Obamacare.
Is that more worrisome than the actual cash outlays for Obamacare?
It's hard to quantify. It's breathtaking what's in this bill. And again, Speaker Pelosi said we have to pass the bill to know what's in it. Those were prophetic words. If they hid, David, over $105 billion in spending in this bill, what else is in this bill? I believe they need to give the money back. And before we go one step further in these budget talks, they need to give the money back. We've been laboring mightily.
They haven't taken the money yet,
oh,
right?
No, it's already appropriated.
It's
already
done. Every bit of that $105 billion has been appropriated.
And normally you pass a bill, and later you pass an appropriation. Have
you talked to John Boehner about this? Is he trying to do anything to change this?
They're looking into it right now, and I've talked to leadership about this. This is a moral outrage, what's just occurred. And so what we need to do is they need to give back that appropriation, the $105 billion. We've been laboring to find $61 billion in cuts. And the administration says, well, let's cut $6 billion. Well, first give back the $105 billion you already took for implementation.
By the way, it's only about a week and a half away, when John Boehner has to decide how far he's willing to go in terms of stopping the spending that the administration wants to.
But David, before we even deal with the budget, they need to give back that $105 billion. It's not much time.
You only have a week and a half until the budget's due.
But they can agree to it just like that. because this was a moral wrong. You can't do that
well,
to 100
do you have
senators.
Boehner on your side? Is he willing to go with you? I mean, without the Speaker, you can't go far with this issue.
Well, that's why I think it's important that people start calling their member of Congress and their senator and tell them, look, we don't want you to vote to continue to fund the government
I've got to press you on
unless.
this. Has Speaker Boehner responded to this issue at all to you?
I don't have an answer from the Speaker's office on this.
So you've tried and
this is all brand new. This is breaking news. This is bombshell news that has just come out.
But if it is bombshell news, he should have responded quickly, no?
Well, I'm not criticizing the Speaker. He's labored very hard to come up with the $61 billion in cuts. This has just come to light now. People are only now just finding out about this. This is outrageous. That's why I'm saying that in the next CR, continuing resolution, before we spend one more penny to keep government going, Obama, Pelosi, and Reid need to apologize, explain why they didn't bother to tell the House and the Senate what they were voting on, and they need to give it back.
By the way, we're about to go to Dick Morris. Before we do, and I know you want to join in at some point, are you going to be running against Sarah Palin in the primaries for the Republican nomination?
I haven't decided if I'm in or if I'm out. I haven't decided.
What would be your key issue, if you have one? Is it just the size of government writ large? Is it the Tea Party message?
Well, I love free enterprise. I'm an unashamed, unapologetic lover and champion of free enterprise. I love the American dream, the idea that anybody can become anything they want if they work hard and give it everything they have. That's what I love, and I see us losing that in the United States. And the debt and the spending and the lack of job creation, that's all uppermost on my mind.
Michelle, stay with us. So is the Tea Party agenda winning? Joining me now is Dick Morris. He is a Fox News political contributor. And Dick, as I look at what's happening all over the country, particularly in places like Wisconsin and Ohio, I wonder if the people are sticking with these Tea Party governors who are trying to get the budget in order. What do you think?
Oh yeah, they are. Absolutely. Don't worry about the poll numbers that you're looking at. After a closely fought election, a governor would tend to be at about 50% job approval because that was roughly the vote share. And your public opinion samples a slightly larger sample sizes, so it reads in the 40s. It's not a real reduction. The important point that I would make here is that the way the questions are always asked is, do you support or oppose limiting collective bargaining to wages and benefits, which is the literal text of the bill. But as I point out in my new book, Revolt, How to Defeat Obama and Repeal His Socialist Programs, the intent of limiting collective bargaining is to free the hands of the state so that they can get rid of bad teachers, promote good ones, pay good teachers more, give parents the choice of schools, and if layoffs are necessary in schools, that you can lay off the worst teachers, not just the youngest. And when you explain what the limitations on collective bargaining are designed to achieve, you have over 20-point support for doing that.
Yeah, and again, those polls that do ask very specific questions that take into account what would happen if you got rid of collective bargaining do more often than not favor the governors. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just comment on what Michelle was saying. I think she's absolutely right. I think it's outrageous. I followed this debate very closely, and there was no indication of that. In fact, there was an indication that $10 billion had been appropriated, and that was kind of a down payment on it, but nobody apparently mentioned the other $90 billion. I believe the correct way to deal with this, though, and again, I propose this in the book Revolt, is when the appropriation bills come up for the fiscal year that starts October 1st, I believe that the Republicans should carve out the IRS budget and the Health and Human Services budget and put them in separate bills. Right now they're lumped together in 13 omnibus bills. And then attach riders to them and say none of the money that has been appropriated to this agency may be used to enforce the individual mandate.
Well, that's an interesting idea. Let me just ask Michele Bachmann if that's a possibility.
David,
are you thinking of doing that, Congresswoman?
David, let me...
Okay, just a second, Dick. Let me just put that to Michelle. Go ahead, Michelle.
We did do that, David, and we did that with the current monies, as Dick suggested. He's exactly right about that. But what we didn't know is that there was $105 billion that's already been appropriated in what's called an advance forward appropriation. We have to claw back. They have to give that money back because that's already been appropriated over the next 8 years. So this $105 billion at minimum will be spent together with the unlimited amount of money that Sebelius has.
Let's go back to Dick. Go ahead, Dick.
Yeah. David, you didn't get me a chance to finish the proposal. They did put that rider in, and it was rejected by the Senate, or not even voted on by the Senate. But what they need to do is to separate out the IRS appropriations, so it is just IRS, just Health and Human Services, and has a rider in it saying that no funds spent by this agency, including that $100 billion, can be spent to implement Obamacare, and you make that more specific technically. Then you let the rest of the government stay open. But if they won't accept that rider, you close the IRS and you close HHS. You literally say, for this specific agency, unless there is this rider approved, we're going to close it. And the four agencies they need to target are IRS for healthcare, EPA for cap and trade, FCC for restrictions on talk radio, and the National Labor Relations Board
hold
for
on.
card check
Let me go
legislation.
back to Michele now, because we got to wrap this segment. But do you think John Boehner, the Speaker of the House, would have the guts to do something like that?
I think he has a lot of guts, and I think very highly of John Boehner. I think that it's possible, but remember, it will be enormous public pressure.
Tremendous.
Because when we draw the line in the sand, we're going to have to be really tough on this. And so it's important that the American people realize what's at stake.
Are you worried about any Republicans jumping ship, not having the backbone for this?
I think as Republicans understand what was done to us, this is a tremendous insult, not only to members of Congress, but more importantly to the American people. This is a tremendous insult. We deserve not only for them to give the money back, but they have to give an explanation and apologize for this secret deception.
Congresswoman Michele Bachmann and Dick Morris from dickmorris.com, thank you both for coming in. Appreciate it. Very interesting stuff.